How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new rumor and leak video. Today we got a big video to do, so please understand it's going to be a very long video, so just get yourself a beverage, put this on in the background, and you can feel free to listen, but it's going to be very long, so grab yourself a beverage. Either way, let's get started right off the bat. Now, like I said, there's a lot of stuff to cover, so this video is going to be going through a lot of things. Some stuff might get a little bit repeated, but I want to kick things off with this first thing right here, which I want to cover, which is that there was actually a post over on the Chinese Tieba Baidu website. It's a forum specifically for Chinese users where somebody posted a giant rumor. And this rumor is basically one of those 4chan ones. You guys have seen them before. It's the classic ones. Nothing too crazy to really say about this in terms of what it is. But let's actually read through it though. So taking this information, the Chinese data mine thread on tiebabaidu.com, because I saw a lot of things there that haven't been data mined by the English communities. This is apparently from DataMines. The Indigo disk has 242 entries. So that basically includes 8 new Pokemon, and the entries are basically for Pokemon themselves, right? Within entries within the Pokedex. There's another group project in the BB Academy similar to the Teal Mask project. So there's another group project in the BB Academy. When they say Teal Mask project, I'm assuming that's us running around, within Kitakami looking for the actual boards and taking pictures of them. I'm guessing that's what they mean by project. I'm just going to assume that's what they're talking about. The page, the legendary treasure from the Scarlet and Violet books will be updated with new information. And the treasure book they're talking about here and the book they're talking about here is specifically the book that we've seen the teacher, the lady right here on the left, right there, her. We've seen her actually reading the completed version of that book. It's the Scarlet and Violet book, right? She has one of those. It's a fully completed version. We have one that's missing information. Then it says RNAV and scan features for the phone. I don't know what RNAV is. I'm sorry, you guys can correct me about this one in the comment section down below. A scan feature, we'll see what that's going to be like. There's an important plot battle against Glimora, which is interesting, and a plot-related double battle with Arven and Penny. Now, this all connects, as you're going to be seeing throughout this video, because Arven, Penny, and Nemona, all of them are going to be relevant to this second DLC. And this is all about the second DLC, by the way. Most of this stuff is going to be massive leaks and stuff, so please beware. There's going to be a lot of information about that. There's a plot-battled codenamed Last Battle. Don't say much, but hey, there you go, Keck. Basically, Last Battle is going to be a ultimate battle. We can kind of assume who's going to be against, but we'll have to wait and see that too. DLC 2 has 2 side stories. Okay, so this is the interesting part, right? What are these side stories? Well, the first one of them is centered around Nemona, Penny, and Arven, and a grandfather character and a grandmother character, which actually G-father and G-mother are in the datamine files. This is legitimate characters that will exist within the second DLC. They are in the files of the datamine, right? So that's definitely confirmed. But we continue on. Another centered around Perrin with less text. So there's going to be another story about Perrin. You guys know Perrin. She is the new character that helps you get Blood Moon Ursaluna within Pokemon the Teal Mask, right? The DLC. The first one we played just now. You have to interact with her and then go take pictures, and eventually you will get the Blood Moon Ursaluna to spawn. That's basically who we're talking about right here. The main story of Blueberry Academy is centered around Kieran and Carmen, of course. So Kieran and Carmen, main characters, we know already more or less, and I will talk about this again more in the video. Kieran is technically evil, okay? There's some evil stuff going on with him. We can already kind of tell. Carmen, on the other hand, is interesting. So Blueberry Academy's Elite Four, Geta, and Rika also appear in the plotline. Interesting. So Rika is the first Elite Four member, and Geta is, or Jetta, whatever you want to call her, is actually the champion of regular Paldea, which is interesting. So they're going to be appearing in this other story. Okay, I guess the main story, right? Team Star has side quests. Penny appears for that, so that is interesting because we're going to have a whole side activity. It does seem like there's way more side quests within the second DLC than the first one. The first one only really had 2 of them, right? You had Nemona's parents, and you can say they aren't, but Billy and Onair, billionaires, right? You had a whole side quest with them, and then you had a side quest with Perrin trying to get Blood Moon Ursaluna. Here we seem to be having a little bit more stuff to do. Side quests for Sada and Turo, unknown if AI or real. Arven appears. So Arven's going to be having one side story, Penny's going to have a side story, and then we're going to have main story stuff about Kieran, Carmen, Blueberry Academy Elite Four, and then Geta and Rika. Okay. Side quests for Sada and Turo. There's a side quest with the codename Steel. Could be related to the BB Academy Steel member. So there is a member. It's the girl who has the little cogs or wheels, whatever, in her hair, and she is the Steel type user. Now, Zombie NPC. Now, this is basically a file in the datamine that specifically calls characters zombies, right? Which is a weird terminology, but it connects to this fourth Pokemon, like this fourth Pokemon that's connected to the Loyal 3, right? The Loyal 3 all have these toxic chains around them. And in the files, there is a Pokemon that's being mentioned. Now, I don't know the exact name. We're going to be going into that a little bit further into this video, but there is a new Pokemon, and I talked about it in the previous one too. It's this purple, pinkish looking little thing that could be similar to Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh, if you don't know, basically revived 3 evolutions. It revived the original evolutions, and at least that's the theory, right? They revived those Pokemon, and they became Entei, Raikou, and Suicune, which are basically just running around and roaming Johto, and actually the world, technically. But the story about it reviving them seems to be kind of replaying here, except in a more dark, twisted way, right? Instead of it being a good thing, it's a negative thing. The Pokemon were either revived or boosted in power by this Pokemon, but it's almost feeding them with negative energy, or the negative energy from them is like being amplified by this new Pokemon. So they continue about zombie NPCs seem to be in Kitakami. They can talk normally. So these zombie NPCs are going to be able to be spoken to. How they're going to function, I don't know. I do have like some stuff over here, like some theories and people have. Like, for example, I'm going to show this real quick. This is from Pen Paladin. So shout out to Pen Paladin for this one. Says, okay, here's my tinfoil hat theory. Dokutaro made the Loyal 3 who they wish to be. Kieran wishes to be become powerful as well in the Indigo Disc. And we get a Lusamine Nihilego situation. If you guys don't remember Lusamine Nihilego, all that happened there, basically they almost merge and fuse together. And is it possible that Kieran might fuse together with this Pokemon? Like, honestly, holy moly, if that is true. If that actually was to happen, that would be incredible. I personally think that would be really sick. And even has a further post down here, says, if this is to be a final boss battle in Indigo Disc, I just can't see it staying some little peach thing. But it could be a reverse Momotaro situation. Instead of a boy born from a peach, you get the boy Kieran reverse birthed from the peach, lol. And what does he talk about? Well, basically, if you look at the entry text for Monkey Dory, Pheasantipede, and Okidogi, it says here that Monkey Dory was originally a clumsy and dim-witted Pokemon, but longing for cleverness led it to gain great wisdom. So basically, it was a little goofball. It was stupid and small, but the desire to be stronger seems to have, somehow manifested, probably through this Pokemon that's caused this to happen, right? Probably because of a different Pokemon. Okidogi was once a smaller and weaker Pokemon, but the desire for strength led it to gain powerful muscles. And then, of course, Pheasantipede, Pokemon with short, dull feathers, but a wish to be beautiful led it to gain exquisite appearance. So, more or less, this Pokemon, whatever this thing is, gave all of them power. It boosted all of them, right? But it also amplified their negative feelings and made them practically evil. And we already know that Kieran is kind of giving off some villain vibes, okay? He's acting very strange, more so than other characters. He says also, may also explain the zombies bit. Imagine a bunch of humans chained at the end of each chain and puppeteered around like zombies. Exactly. So this Pokemon literally controlling humans, turning them into zombies. And he's referencing here specifically this post from Matt, who basically data mined the information and found some text during battles and included BB League, which is of course the brand new Elite Four we're going to battle, Kieran, Kodaikame. We also know what Kodaikame is now because this was accidentally leaked today in the Pokemon anime. Kodaikame is the name for the Terapagos, right? Like one of the versions of Terapagos. There's Zombie Man, Zombie Old, Zombies as a standard term, Nemona, Arven Penny, and Dokutaro. And Dokutaro could be this brand new Pokemon. That is possibly the zombie creature Pokemon that we're looking at. And here's actually an alternative art, which this looks sick, by the way. Like, shout out to Pen Paladin here. Gotta just drop a like on that and gonna drop a follow. But let's move on back to the actual post. Here's a speculation by the data miner. Because the rest of the family of Applin isn't in the Indigo Disc Mask Pokedex, yet you get given the evolution of Diplin and can evolve it in the game. Evolution method will be in the next games, or I guess, if he says in the next games, does he talk about the next DLC? Or is he talking about literally the next Pokemon games? Because that's a little bit more strange. But nonetheless, that was the rumor. And there are a few speculations from people. Lost Silver Totodile, for example, says, if the speculation is true, we got a good list of targets for our next region here, if not very broad. And then, of course, they talk about, for example, Australia, like basically different varieties of apples, Brazil, the candy apples, mainland China, basically how many different places around the world have these special, like, kind of apples, right? And they could be references, because that's basically what he's, I guess, saying at the end here, that because the rest of the family of Applin isn't into Indigo Disc Mask, geez, this is really like twisted in the way it's written, you get given the evolution of Diplin and it can evolve in the game. So really strange. It's there, but you can't evolve it. So I guess you would evolve it in whatever the next generation is, which is really strange if true. Now, there are a few people who have some theories about all of this, which I think is interesting to mention, because this all does connect back to just a massive amount of information, okay? So here we start with what Soul Silver has to say, which is a leak analyst. He says, just to remember for 4chan, a lot of the accurate data mine info is in here. This does make Ku's thread below make some sense, but I'm not sure. I'm sure many details in this post are off. It's 4chan after all. The most interesting part to me are the Glimora battle, as it could tie to Dokutaro. Now, Dokutaro, again, is that new little purple-pink Pokemon, right? All the separate quests are nice. Lastly, of course, the mystery of the zombies. But zombie NPCs in Kitakami make a lot of sense if there was to be a follow-up Dokutaro side quest in Kitakami. But in the Indigo Disc, big grain of salt here. I'd especially be surprised and disappointed if we can't evolve our Diplins, but we're instead given the Evo or met it as a static encounter. I'm not sure, but wouldn't this be disproven with Diplin being able to use an Eviolite already? Gonna explain what I think Ku meant with the Diplin Evo resembling Ursaluna more in a separate tweet later, but it does make this scenario a possibility. And here he's referencing a tweet that came out from Riddler Ku. We're going to go through all of Riddler Ku's tweets. There's been a lot of them. And for those of you guys who don't know who Riddler Ku is, he's basically just a legitimate leaker. He has legitimate info and he makes these riddles as a way to kind of hint to us what's going to be actually happening. So in case you don't know what that is, that's what that is. Here's also Jan. So Jan is a person within the Pokemon community who's within the Chinese community and is able to translate all stuff. Now, this post is accurate to what I've seen in the data mine content in Chinese social media. I still want to remind, though, misinterpretation in telephone game is still a possible thing, though this post should at least be 90% accurate to what can be seen in the codes now. So it is possible that the stuff we are reading here could be accurate, and a lot of it does sound accurate. It does seem to fit with what we might be getting. But again, keep in mind, it is a rumor, so always take it with a grain of salt, as it could always end up not being true. Next up, though, we also have, again, this whole thing about the Loyal 3. So very interesting, the Loyal 3 could be a new version of Ho-Oh and the Legendary Beast, but with Terapagos, right? Is it possible? I don't know if it's related to Terapagos. I think it's related. I think these three gained their power not from Terapagos, but from whatever Dokutaro, whatever that Peach Pokemon is. I think that's where they gained that power from. Also, we have information that Perrin, as like the DLC rumor actually says here, Perrin will return for another side quest in the Indigo Disc. So in relevant info, there is an entirely new side quest storyline with Perrin and Indigo Disc. Her internal name is Camera, and Sudachi 1's Side 202 storyline was the quest for the Blood Moon Beast. And apparently there is another one being mentioned in here. There's like basically going to be a whole nother quest line to deal with her. Question is, we don't know what that's going to be. Some people are saying like new Cleavor form, and that mostly comes from like some mentions within the files. Again, we don't really know, but there's going to be some Pokemon there too. Also, another thing, interesting, potentially we could change any Pokemon to the 19th Terra type if the new entry is actually for that. So there's basically a new text entry, and this is within the files of the game, right? This is all within the files. But basically what it says is that a new text entry for the Medali restaurant's Terra type changing NPC was added for the Indigo Disc, called sub_011_Takara_select_21. Looks like something presumably involving the 19th Terra type. So this is not a brand new evolution, typing. This is just another Terra typing. It's going to be kind of a combination of them all, like the neutral type, right? And can be done through the same NPC, though the requirements and implications are unknown. So yeah, we know that it's going to be possible. We just don't know exactly how it's going to function 100% yet. Also, there is some more side quest stuff. Again, like I said, this video is going to be very long, so spoilers about side quests in the Indigo Disc. And this is again coming from a few different places, but we're going to start with what Jan says down here. More stuff in the Scarlet Violet DLC data mine from the Chinese social media. This part seems like a description of a side quest. The translation of the image was done by myself. Won't let me put that, so yeah, Twitter won't let enough words be put in. So here's what it says. So a part of the data mine code that was posted on the Chinese post was this, S2_side1. And then basically it says, you suddenly got a call from Arvin, who asks you, Nimona and Penny, to go to Kitakami in a hurry. After hearing the information of ... you decided to visit a home that belongs to the siblings you know. What story did the grandparents tell you? What happened in Kitakami? And what is the mysterious Pokemon that showed up? Right, so this all seems to connect back. I do think for the second DLC, we probably will need, most likely, to play through Kitakami and finish the first DLC story, or else we won't have access to it. I do think that's going to be the case, just just based on like what I can tell from what we can look at right now. This is just what I think, okay? It's just what I think. But again, it seems like that might be the situation here. So we do also have a post from Soul down here. It says, just for clarification, the extracted text files only contain character code names like this. The plot is their extrapolation from these code names rather than something that can be directly seen from the data mine. So it is possible that we haven't really learned much from this, but again, let's just keep it in mind. Next up, today in the anime episode, they actually used Kodaikame's name for Terapagos by mistake in the captions, and they actually even made a whole tweet, and I will cover this again a bit later, but they made a whole tweet talking about literally like, oh, we mistakenly called it Kodaikame. Kodaikame is literally the name that's in the files. You guys can see it right down here, right? We got BB League, Kieren, Kodaikame. See? It's right there. It's literally in the files. So we pretty much have proof that it's available in here. But we move on to the next thing. So now it's going to be a little convoluted, okay? We have a lot of posts here from Soul Silver, who's kind of done a whole massive breakdown of all the different stuff that's been happening. So it's going to get a little wild as we go through this, but I think we should start with what was actually posted by Riddler Koo. So Riddler Koo, as I mentioned earlier, legitimate leaker. He's made a ton of different tweets, and I'm going to just go through them to start with. First up was this. Now, what is this black icon right here? Well, this is actually the logo in the Scarlet and Violet logo. This can be seen in the top right corner. We didn't know what it was, but now we know that it's actually the shape of the lake in Kitakami. So they already hinted the Kitakami lake on the mountain in the original logos, which we were speculating what it could mean, but it was already there. And Jan, you can see, is already reacting like crazy. Riddler Koo just says, spread it on the Chinese media. And you guys can see right there, it's in the logo, or I guess not in the original logo, but it's already hinted. It was already hinted in the DLC logo, right? Which means if you look at the other logos, they should pretty much give us an answer to some other things. The logo in the bottom left right here, that's the Blueberry Academy logo. This could be for like, I'm going to assume that might have been for potentially, I could be crazy here, call me crazy, could be for like the new legendary Pokemon, or this one down here could be for that, and this instead could be related to Ogerpon. I don't really know. Those two are hard to tell as of right now, but it could also be like, this could be Terapagos right down here, this could be something totally unrelated, we don't really know, but we do know that this is basically the lake. Next up though, we finally know what the second symbol in the Pokemon DLC logo refers to, the crystal pool. Now sorry, I was saying the original logo, but no, it's the DLC logo, because the original logo just has other things related to regular Paldea. But for example, the one right here could be the Ogerpon Mountain, the Crystal Pool could be this one up here, and then we have the Blueberry Academy, right? The Blueberry Academy, BB League, down here with this logo, and the final one on the corner right here could be Terapagos, or Baby Terapagos in this case specifically. Also, really cool like artwork here from Makio and J Roses. Shout out to them, by the way, for doing just amazing work. But as you can see, the Crystal Pool makes the most sense, and here we have the original logo. So this is the one I was referring to earlier a second ago, but this is the ones we had in there. So the first one was this icon we saw down in the cave, and it's also inside of the book. So a metal plate in Area 0, a glyph in Area 0, from Sada and Turo's laboratory, and then I guess just the weird hexagon looking thing Heath's study saw in the dream, and then this is from Scarlet and Violet book. So this is from the actual book we mentioned earlier too. All these things are there, and it's really strange because if you connect them, it's just this weird connection that exists within the whole story of this game. Either way, there is also a post here from Light who says, so the banner of the hidden treasure of Area 0 will be related to important places of the teal mask and the indigo disc. Top left is Kitakami DLC 1, top right, the pool in the Oni Mountain, bottom left, the Blueberry Academy, and bottom right, something from DLC 2, which most likely now we know is Terapagos. Also, we're going to take a look at some of the other stuff that Light has posted a little bit later. But this icon on the top right is the Crystal Lake ride, and this has also been posted on Chinese social media. I just want to mention this mostly, just so you guys know that these people have all mentioned it and talked about it, because that's the thing. A lot of people figure this out very quickly. Then, of course, we have Soul who says, well, that makes a lot of sense. We could never figure out this one symbol on the DLC logo because we hadn't seen it yet. Turns out the symbol was the freaking crystal pool in Kitakami filled with Terra gems. This makes me feel like the pool might have more significance than we may know, than we may think. Or it could just be the reason why Terrastall is in Kitakami and how the gems ended up in Ogerpon's masks to begin with, which is probably the reasoning. I don't think it's much more deep than that. Sometimes I feel like even we overestimate them. But fun fact though, the Japanese name for crystal pool is Terasu Ike, right? Which is shining or illuminating, while that word right there means pond or pool. This name is very intentional, as is also the prefix for terrestrialization. Terasu, right? So terrestrialization is often shortened to Terasu in the game, which is, wow, that is really a strange connection. Like, man, they really go all out to make sure all the naming has like a reason behind it. They will spend more time on the naming schemes than anything else. But let's move on to the next thing. So this is a massive post, okay? This was the big post that we had. First, he just posted X, and then he had a picture of Nimona and Carmen. Then he had a picture right here of Penny and Arvin, right? We got number 2 here. And then, of course, we had the main character and Kieran. This is really weird. Now, what you guys read from the rumor earlier was that there's going to be some kind of story with Penny and Team Star. There's going to be some story with Arvin, and Nimona, we don't really know much about what's going to be happening with her, but it seems like she might be serving a similar purpose, or Carmen's going to be serving a similar purpose to her, and then these two are going to be showing up, so it says just X and then X2, X3. Again, there isn't much reasoning for this. One of the explanations a few people have had, because there is another post that was made, and I think Jan has an explanation for one of these, but basically it was just a Chinese symbols, and then we have a breakdown of what it basically means right here from Kuro, who says the following. So basically, this could be the emoji symbols that we see. This is the emoji corresponding to the Chinese character Tao Zhong Li Dai, which is peach, right? Zombie and Li and generation. So it basically breaks down to peach, zombie, cherry, generation, or boy. Like, this is a weird, way to look at it. I don't really know how to break this down, but he says the Lidai Peach Stiff is a kind of strategy to give up the small and protect the big. In the confrontation between the two armies, it is often difficult to obtain a complete victory, and sometimes even requires a certain price or sacrifice. In this case, we should try our best to sacrifice some parts to preserve the overall situation. It's almost like war theory. I don't know, it's really strange, but I don't really know if this is what he's trying to say. It's really strange. We do also have other theories from other people about what this could be actually meaning, and we can actually see that by going down here, as some people are trying to figure out what this could mean. It's like the whole idiom. It means substitute one thing for another, and then this word is peach and the other one is zombie. So basically, substitute one thing for another thing. Is it possibly that we're gonna, Kieran's going to be replaced by something, or that what we're looking at right here is that these characters are going to be substituted by someone else, or they're substituting each other, or is it that we're going to be substituted by them? So is Kieran trying to be the main character? Is Penny or Arvin going to be taking on, or Penny going to be taking on the task of Arvin? Is Nimona going to be taking over Carmen's lore, or is Carmen going to be taking on Nimona's role? It's really confusing, but let's continue on down this rabbit hole because there's just a lot of stuff to talk about. So we continue on over to the next thing here. So there are some minor data mine stuff that Matt didn't mention, but were reported on Chinese social media. This one isn't too huge, but seemingly certain code names for the Indigo Disc, new Pokemon are seen in the code. Kodaikame, Ancient Turtle. So that's what we just looked at a second ago. You guys remember? We just looked at that a moment ago, and it was specifically that leaked name accidentally in the actual, transcript, in the, captions of the new episode of the Pokemon anime. So we pretty much know that is, the name, I guess the Japanese name, or one of the names of Terrapagos. And then Dokutaro, which we already know, is going to be that little peach-looking Pokemon. That little pink thing is specifically Dokutaro. I mean, it just makes sense. Doku, poison, and Taro, Momotaro. It literally is it's based on Momotaro, the story of Momotaro, which you guys already should know now if you watched any of my previous videos, but it's just a folk tale within Japan about a little peach boy, which is super random to begin with, but it all does connect. And then poison makes sense. It's literally poisoning them. It's turning them into zombies. It's controlling them. It's making them turn evil. And there is a bunch of stuff to actually prove this. But let's first go through some of the other stuff. One of the things Ridley Cool also did was change his profile picture to one of the characters. This is one of the Elite Four members from the BB League. He changed to her, and then he just put on the Voltorb image, which is just random. Don't know if there's any value to that. And he says, if you could manipulate one buddy in Scarlet and Violet, who would you choose? You are forced to kill each other. So this comes back again to that whole zombie thing. Is it possible that Arvin, Penny, Nimona, all of us are they going to be controlled by someone? Is it possible that what we see right here, the reason he shows these two, is that we're going to have to choose between them, choose between whose side we're going to be on, or defending one, or battling one, or is one of them going to literally be, just game ended? I don't know. It doesn't seem like something Pokemon would do. I don't think they ever go as far as to literally offing a character. That just does not seem like in the ballpark of what they would do. But it seems like there's going to be some sacrifice of at least one of these characters. And again, why are we connected to Kieran? Is it just because of his desire to defeat us? His desire to prove that he's stronger than us? His desire for power? What exactly is it? Well, we don't actually really know just yet. Next up, though, he says this right here. Who would you save? And then again, it's our 3 rivals, Nemona, Penny, Arven. Again, all of them are being shown. He says, I think Momo's ability is overt now. And what he's talking about here, Momo, is again Momotaro, which would be Dokutaro, right? That's going to be the little poison Pokemon. And he says that his ability is overt. Now, I don't really know how to define the word overt, but basically is done or shown openly and plainly apparent. So basically, he's trying to say that Momo's ability is obvious to us now. It's clear. We're going to see our friends being controlled by Momotaro or Dokutaro, the little peach Pokemon, the little weird-looking pink blob. That thing controlled, poisoned, and zombified almost the the Loyal 3 from Kitakami. What's going to probably happen is the same scenario right here. These 3 will be controlled. What will we have to do? Do we have to battle evil versions of them? Are we going to have to try to save them? Are we going to have to choose who to save, right? Is there going to be a choice? Is it going to change the story in any way? I don't think so, because Pokemon doesn't really go far with the whole story-changing thing. But it's interesting nonetheless. Also, a little side note. If you guys look at the arm right here of Nemona, notice how that logo of the Naranja Academy, right, actually has like a gold icon on it. But then if you look at this one here from the other academy, this is from the UVA Academy, right? So this is from the Violet version. You've got Arven, but his symbol is now silver. Just a little bit of a point I wanted to make, right? Just like interesting how one is gold colored in one game and one is silver colored in the other game. Just an observation is all I'm going to say. Just an observation. And somebody says something interesting here, which is anything for my dude Arven. And then here they said anything for my dude Arven, and then shows like a picture of him not being yoinked, and then Nemona and Penny both getting destroyed. He says you bound them wrong. And when he then makes a different image with all 3 of them split, says more like this: are the players finally going to make a choice that matters in this game? It's a Pokemon game. Just make it funny if exaggerate shit purposefully. So basically, I think they're gonna give us the illusion almost, right? The illusion, the feeling as if we have a choice between saving all of them. But in reality, we're not going to be saving, like, it's not going to matter, because I think all of them will be saved at the end. But they're going to give you the illusion of almost choosing, right? Which is what they tend to do. And then he says, Sudachi 2 be like Rampage and Revenge. And then we see right here the freaking blob Pokemon, and we have these 3 images. And now what is this image from? You guys might be wondering, like, what is that? I don't know what you're talking about. This image right here is a modified image, okay? This is an altered image from Kitakami, from the game. Now, in the teal mask, this image is shown when they're telling the story about what actually happened to Ogerpon, how it was basically bullied by the Loyal 3, how they basically hurt it and tried to steal its masks, and actually, I think, managed to steal the masks from it. This is the image that is shown, and we can literally see all the 3 Pokemon in that image, all be like, doing evil faces and stuff. And who's now been replaced? What has he put into this image? An evil version of all of our 3 friends. The Loyal 3, who are our Loyal 3? Who are the Loyal 3 of our Pokemon journey in Paldea? It's these 3. It's our friends that we made along the way, right? It's very generic, but you get the point, right? Our 3 friends are going to be the villains. Our 3 friends are the ones who are going to be fighting throughout this journey, throughout this whole like adventure in there. They are going to be poisoned by this Pokemon. Their minds will be controlled, and we're going to have to choose who to save. But at the end of the day, it is a Pokemon game, so we're probably going to be able to save pretty much all of them. I don't think there's really going to be much craziness in regards to that. Next up though, let's go through everything that's been posted here. You guys can probably not see, but I have a million tabs open up here, so it's going to take a bit of time to go through all of this. But hey, you guys are here for the ride, so let's enjoy it. Now, first up here is coming to us from, of course, none else than Soul Silver, who says, I've thought about this more and more, and I think I've cracked it. The first image of the entire Indigo Disc decks below does not have any of the new Pokemon in it. No Archaludon, Iron Crown, etc. Game Freak purposely didn't leave these obvious spoilers in the data, which also means they always could have left other important things out as well, which is true, because if you look at the actual leaked image right here of the full Pokedex, FYI, feel free to pause. I will make my face cam smaller here so you guys can see this if it's really important to you. But if you're just wondering what's at the bottom section down there, they just have like Poltergeist, Milcery, Duraludon, Cleavor, the little weird Pokemon that pushes things around, and Faragiraf. So it's just old Pokemon we know about. But if you want to see any of these, you can just pause the video. Either way. What he says is, with that in mind, I think that ultimately Ku, the Riddler, was simply saying that Applin and Diplin are clearly not in the Indigo Disc decks, but Diplin's evolution will be, which is very similar to Blood Moon Ursaluna because Teddy Urza and Ursaring were not in the Teal Mask decks, but Blood Moon Ursaluna was. It's as simple as that, hopefully, lol. And then, of course, this refers back to this right here, where he specifically said, reminded that the 4 apples are not in the Blueberry decks. Realize that it kind of resembles Blood Moon, huh? If this means more Perrin, then we will buy. Yep, she is important. Again, is that we're going to discover Diplin's evolution through the help of Perrin, because she helped us find Blood Moon Ursaluna. And also, is it even an evolution, or is it some weird form as well? Like, again, it's not very clear, but we'll see. Next up, though, is this really cool post right here. So this comes from Echoverse over here. Shout out to Echoverse for posting this. And we're going to open up this actual image first, and then we're going to talk about what Soul has to say. Haven't seen anybody talking about this yet. Found this in the Scarlet and Violet book page, Area 0 cartograph, right? I spy peaches on the left-hand side. What do you think, Soul Silver? And you guys can see, on the left side, there's peaches. And there's literally a peach right there. And then you can see right here. Now, what is this location? I think this is what's behind that secret door in Area 0 that we have yet to open. Now, again, some of you might be confused. What are you talking about? I don't remember a secret door. If you guys go right now into your Pokemon Scarlet version, you head to Area 0, right? The entrance, the top entrance. You go into like the whole machine room on the first floor. You go in there. You will normally have to go to the right side if you want to enter Area 0, right? If you guys have played the game, you should know that. But if you go to the left, there is a door that's locked. You can interact with that door. If you interact with it, it gives you a text input, something that it shouldn't do, okay? Pokemon never does that. If something is in the game and it has a response when you interact with it, that means there's a purpose behind it. It wouldn't have any sort of interaction to it if there wasn't a reason behind it in some way or shape, right? So it's really strange that that's there. What I think is going to happen is that either we're going to be sent as a side quest down there, and this is what we're going to find, a new zone with that brand new Pokemon, the Dokutaro, the little poison Pokemon, as well as other things down here. Possibly a bunch of other Paradox Pokemon, like the legendary Paradoxes, and maybe even raids and stuff like that for special Pokemon. Like special raids will be down here that will give us the access to certain Pokemon in different ways. You can even see a treasure chest in the corner right here showing off gold. Is it possible, this could also connect, by the way, to another like theory and hint that's being given, that there might be a Golden Go form, right? And you guys know Golden Go, it's like the new chest Pokemon, its final evolution. Could it be related to that? Probably not, but this is definitely where we're going to be going. So I think that after we complete the base story in, the Blueberry Academy in the second DLC, the Indigo Disc, this is where we're going to go afterwards. Like after we're done with that story, or this would all be connected, and we're going to have to go back and forth, right? We're going to have to run from the Academy, from the Academy all the way here, back and forth, trying to complete the story and piece it all together. But I more so think this is going to be the end game. What I think personally, this is just a theory of mine. Is it possible that we're going to have to go down here to find the cure that will stop the zombification and the takeover of the minds of our friends? Is it possible that down here we'll find the thing that can stop that Dokutaro Pokemon, the new poison Pokemon? Is it possible this is where we can find the solution to it? I think so. And I think this place will also have special raids. So if they're going to be bringing back legendaries, this is where we're going to find them. If they're going to be adding the new Paradox Pokemon, so like, for example, you guys can see them down here in the previous image we looked at of the Pokedex. You guys already know about some of them, like Iron Threads and, sorry, not Iron Threads, but, some of the other guys. You guys can see them right here, these two. So these two, for example, will possibly be available again down there, because there's no way to get the two of them anymore. They were only available in raids for a limited time, and you can't get them anymore. So is it possible that we're going to be instead now be able to get them there? Like that's where they're going to be available, including the other ones. So Iron Crown, like the big, like a new Terrakion, a new Entei Paradox, the Raikou, all of them. Is it possible that they're going to be all down there? That's what I think. Either way, let's go back to what the post says here. Well, look at which fruit is specifically singled out on the left side of the page of the Scarlet Violet book about Heath and his explorer's journey into the depths of Area 0. Hello, Peachy. Again, it seems like it all seems to connect. And here, somebody says, what if Miss Briar is a human manifestation of the peach? Like Ku's post, if she's an actual person or not. And this is a post that was actually made by Ku, which is more or less this. Is she a zombie? Is she controlled? We have already seen characters that aren't real. We know that AI Sada and AI Turo, they're literally robots. It's not out there to think that she possibly could be some sketchy person that might be connected to the Pokemon. Like, anything is possible. Literally anything is possible. Either way, though, let's move on to the next thing, which is this following post right here. So basically, this is a post that was made by RuffledRowlit. He says, "Eat my toxic chain." And it's a man literally throwing a literal snake, okay? Here's what he says. Spoilery. Could Dokutaro's toxic powers be how we/Kieran evolve Dipplin? Possibly. That could make it a dragon poison type. I don't know. I still think it could stay grass dragon just because this Pokemon line is already notorious for sounding like they should be different types, but stay grass dragon. Flapple already could have been poison type based on the tart apple, and many people think Dipplin could have been a dragon fairy type from the syrup apple, so I wouldn't say anything 100%. Not sure if this is even truly a hint post from Ku, but for the sake of speculation, with all that we now know, it'd make sense that there's a quest in the Indigo Disc that takes us back to Kitakami to face the Dokutaro Pokemon that has taken over the region. In this scenario, its toxic chain gift could make a poison apple that allows us to evolve Dipplin, and maybe it would be the same way for Kieran, right? That he also gets poisoned in the same way. Of course, if this is the case, the two worms of the evolution could intertwine and simply look very similar to the toxic chain. We can already see kind of how that twists together right here, and you guys have already seen the shape. Like, this is already right down here is a hint to those, right? We already know that this is clearly a hint to Dipplin evolution, and it's going to retain the dragon typing because the guy who wears this outfit is related to the Drayden and whatnot, and he clearly is going to have dragon-type Pokemon based on some of the leaks and stuff. So he says, it would just be fun for there to be a poison apple in the Unova-based region too, pulling inspiration from Snow White, which is a German, European, Western folktale in origin, and we know Unova has heavy European lore. This poison apple's death and resurrection motif in Snow White would also fit really well with the poison ghost typing. Could be the case, and here Jordan even made a post about it, saying, "Oh, Dokutaro probably helps to make Kieran's Dipplin evolution." Now, I wonder if it uses a poison apple. So the whole snake thing is related to how possibly, like, because he's already posted an image, like RuffledRowlit's already posted an image of two snakes intertwining, and like, it's weird, but that's when he was hinting at Dipplin's evolution. So is it possible that it could be a grass poison type or a dragon poison type even as well? Anything is possible, you know what I mean? Anything could happen. We move on to the next thing, and this is where we're going to start talking about the evil within this man, okay? We're going to start talking about the evil within Kieran, okay? So here it says, first post is right here. And this starts off with something that was posted by Kayla, who said basically, there's briefly a dark purplish shadow around Kieran's fist when he punches the monument. It fades away quickly, almost like it was absorbed into the monument. Could this shadow be what brought the Loyal 3 back to life? And you guys can see right here, you can basically see how there's like a little bit of purple shadow coming out as he punches this thing. You guys can literally see it. There's none of it afterwards. Like, this is a very specific little detail that's in there. And basically what he says here is, part 1. If I haven't reached this part of the story myself, but I truly believe that it was once again this Dokutaro Momotaro Peach Pokemon that brought the Loyal 3 back to life in this scene. This works for multiple reasons. 1. This exploding aura coming from the Loyal 3's grave is the same pink color of the toxic chains and the apparent color of this Pokemon that we see in Peachy's shop. And again, it's this Pokemon that we've talked about before, and I'm going to show you an image of it again soon. I believe that Dokutaro's Pokemon is a poison ghost type. This would give it any number of supernatural abilities, including becoming invisible, which could be why we don't see it literally resurrect them, possessing someone like Kieran, and bringing other spirits back from the world of the dead. I believe it's the one behind the Loyal 3's motifs. It brought them back for itself and its own plan. In this way, it's smarter than the Loyal 3 and functions as their leader or trainer, like we see in the signboards. And again, this perfectly relates to this theory that we were talking about earlier. And I want to show this one again, if I can just really quickly find it. This one, it connects really well back to this whole theory. Like, perfectly fits with this theory, right? 100%. Either way, let's continue through this actual post, if we can just find where we were, because I did lose a little bit of track, because it's a lot of posts, I'm not going to lie. But either way, it says here, following, peaches are native to China, and apparently in China, they are known as the fruit of immortality. So I'd say resurrection is definitely in a peach Pokemon's wheelhouse. And by looking at Kayla's images below, it might even have used Kieran to resurrect the Loyal 3. It may have introduced itself to Kieran a while back, and could be influencing, corrupting him, and how he sees others. Part 2 should be a lot shorter and more theory-based, lol. But basically, here we have like the whole moment that it happens. he punched it. A bunch of purple goo guy went in there. He left. All of a sudden, after he leaves, the whole place goes nuking itself, right? And we see the 3 Pokemon literally brought back to life. They're literally resurrected. These are their, like, resting places. They gone. They game ended, okay? But they're back here. Ogerpon already yoinked them once, but they've returned. And it's clear as day that this seems to be related. You can see here, Chinese mythology tells of a group of deities celebrating the everlasting life provided by the fruit every 6,000 years, specifically the peach, which again is really weird. Aside from symbolizing longevity, peaches are also safeguard health. So really, again, strange connections. He says, ooh, yeah, it's definitely peachy, lol, another nice detail. And here, what we're talking about is specifically this. We're going to open up this right here. He says that where basically Makio said the following. Interesting, this is a very small detail, but does add to the theory that Kieran got somehow possessed by the Peach Pokemon. We can also see this purple shadow during the Loyal 3 resurrection. You guys can look here, see? The same shadow seems to show up in the exact same moment, which again, very strange. It just seems like interestingly and weirdly connected, right? It's just all really strange. And again, here you can see something crazy is about to go down the Teal Mask. Why are Carmen and the player characters separated and so shocked? And what's that pink aura surrounding them? Why is Kieran so upset? You guys can see literally pink aura down below. And you guys can see we're overreacting, freaking out. And then all of a sudden after this, you guys know, like, you know, he's just all kinds of evil. The man is literally like just evil. He just went pure evil. There's no other way to define it. He's just angry, frustrated, and it seems like he's being controlled or manipulated by someone or something to behave this way. But here again, well, let's go back to where we were earlier. So we have a lot of posts. Like I said, there's a mountain of stuff to cover here. But here we go. So part 2. Okay, so part 2 became a part 3 because I just experienced this scene for myself and it's clear to me now. I now fully believe that Game Freak not only hints that Dokutaro resurrected the Loyal 3, but that it may have been Kieran under the influence of Dokutaro who did it. Here's why. After Kieran eavesdrops on us, hiding the true story of the ogre, he runs off immediately after we are sent to get him, and we find him at freaking Peachy's shop. Yes, he's literally at Peachy's shop. It's called Peachy's shop, for crying out loud. There's so many peach-related things. There's just a bunch of fruits in this region, man. Or sorry, in this game, and this generation. It's just fruit all the time. But he's at Peachy's shop. Right there, you guys can see the little purple, pinkish little thing is right there. And then he gets angry at us afterwards. Literally, even his sister says, "What's gotten into you, Kiki? You're acting real off today." Even she realizes something is wrong with him because, I mean, either he's been hiding his true self the whole time, or he's just being manipulated by a Pokemon, or it's influencing his mind, making him literally go crazy. But he says, he's literally a Peachy's shop. After this, we got him to the final signboard, which will be part 3 of this theory. Later, when he faced Kieran at the Loyal 3's grave, all of Carmen's dialogue is riddled with info. She keeps stressing that Kieran isn't normally like this. And when she asked if this is normal behavior for someone Kieran's age, the answer we select are, "I don't know," and "I don't think so." To me, these answers both lean towards, no, this isn't exactly normal. After that, the Loyal 3 are resurrected, and of course, she asked, what brought them back? Kieran brought them back. He literally brought them back to life, because he's being possessed by that Pokemon. I think the Pokemon itself literally can't interact with them. I think it doesn't maybe have a physical form it can take on just yet. Like, is it possible that it's literally a ghost? It cannot take on a form. It cannot poison anybody directly, except maybe humans. It can get in touch with humans. It can't resurrect them on its own. It needed somebody else to make that contact. And when he made that contact, it literally could just reach the rock through that. Like, it's weird to imagine, but it's possible. Later, when we face Kieran at the Loyal 3 grave, again, we already just talked about this a second ago. Final point below. Here. Now, I say Kieran could be under Dokutaro's influence because it's clear, okay, that he's not fully possessed. Instead, I see that he could have met his shadowy Dokutaro spirit from the pillow at Peachy's shop, and it could be feeding into his negative thoughts, whispering to him bad thoughts about he's been betrayed, and through this, his emotions, Dokutaro could have resurrected the Loyal 3. Yes, basically using his negative emotions and the fact that he's literally like, I mean, look at this. His mind, like, think about any anime you've watched. When a character's like literally going crazy with like something controlling their mind, they'll be like, you know, like, stop, no, liars, lie, you know, like, it literally is so anime, so animated, so like standard, so to say. Literally says, liar, you're a liar. You acted like you didn't know anything, but you were laughing at me. The whole scene, look how it's like literally distorted. You can see like there's a blur all around him, clearly showing that he's in distress. Something is in his head. Something is messing with his mind. Like, obviously something is wrong with this kid. Something has been done to him. And again, it all brings us back to this whole zombie thing. So let's get back into it. Whispering to him bad thoughts about the Loyal 3. With that being said, this could be our first look at Dokutaro's potential ability to turn people into zombies. When Kieran is freaking out in this scene, we can see this blur surrounding him. It even distorts the colors around him, just what I mentioned. Not to mention he's having a full meltdown. Then this person below also noticed that the glare in his eyes is not always present. It actually vanishes in times when it wouldn't make sense, and it reappears after he's calmed down. We can see this after he punches the memorial. The light returns to his eyes, and he realizes he actually hurt his hand when he punched it. This is no light in his eyes. Definitely also gives off a very bad, very dead and mindless look as well, right? You guys can see right here, like, ow. He realizes that he hurt himself, and he's like kind of lost. And again, here we have a whole person who kind of broke down all of it. And we have a just quick thing we're going to look at first. One other potential piece of the puzzle that I left out on purpose because it doesn't sound too relevant is that Kieran brought the teal mask to the Loyal 3 Memorial too. Even though he had already given it, already given it back to us before he punches the memorial, just that the Terra gems were in the general vicinity or had in Kieran's possession means that Dokutaro could have possibly used the Terra power from the mask to revive the Loyal 3. Everything Scarlet and Violet, and definitely in the Hidden Treasure of Area 0, is powered by or ties back to the infinite power of Terra crystals. So who knows, maybe there's something to it being here too. Again, it could all connect perfectly. And like I said, we're going to take a look at what's being said down here in this previous post, because this person actually posted a bunch of stuff as well. Gooseberry attracts attention because the highlight appears from the eyes. There's multiple scenes where Suguri, or Kieran, is blinded, whether by chance or on purpose, but what kind of eyes does Suguri have at this time? And if we look right here, all these moments, his eyes like literally shift. Look, like they shift. You can literally see it right there. It's really bizarre, but his eyes literally change. Here we can't even see his eyes. His eyes are hidden here too. Here too. His eyes are literally hidden because it's like when he's controlled, his eyes are different. They literally have a different shape to it. Like, look at them. Look, see how they literally switch? Here, it's just evil, pure evil. Boom, down. It's really strange. It's a very small detail, but I think it's worthwhile bringing up and mentioning, just generally. Either way, though, let's go back to the post right here. I don't think there's much else to mention from this exact post, but let's continue to the next thing. So, okay, part 2, because part 2 became part 3. So this is what we just covered. So I don't think we have to go through this exact post again, because we just did. Potential spoilers. You're forced to kill each other. So this goes back to what Riddler Koo said earlier. Also, I don't usually share Koo's posts about plot spoilers because I don't really want to even know them myself, but man, this one has thrown me for a loop. Like a huge loop. A loop around an entire universe and then back again. What's Game Freak been cooking in Gen 9? But this is the thing. You are forced to kill each other. How? Why is he saying to F each other off? Or, I mean, why did I say F? I mean, kill each other off, game end each other. Why is that a specific point here? Why is that the way he says it? Is that exactly what we're going to do, right? The fact that we can, if you could manipulate one of the buddies in Scarlet and Violet, who would you choose? Are we going to be the ones doing this? Are we going to be the one controlled by the Pokemon? Is that might be why he included an image of all of them and not when he included an image of, comparisons, the image actually had us here. So is it possible that how Kieran is being, controlled, are we going to be controlled in the same way? Are we the player character? Are we going to be losing our mind? Are we going to be the one controlled this time? And maybe we're going to be the one causing the demise of one of our friends? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Either way, if we can roll back to the post here, I don't really think there's much else that was said by our boy here, but I think this means we're getting some kind of battle royale mode, maybe. That's a good call. I mean, I don't really know if that's the case, but, if it's story related, I don't know. If it's plot related, I don't know. We'll see. Either way, next up, this is unrelated to stuff. Here's what we have to talk about. So, this is actually huge. I'll have to do a full breakdown tomorrow, but this is strongly connects to Koo's riddles. But this is potentially a clarification on the 3 Titan-like battles that we might get in the Indigo disc. Now, what are we talking about? Well, basically, in the files, after some additional pondering, I can verify the following. Futatsuna, terrestrial form Terrapagos, and then unknown form Terrapagos, and then presumably Dokutaro, which helps confirm my initial suspicion that dev ID 1021 is Terrapagos. And then somebody says, this should be the normal form Terrapagos, right? So does that mean that we never battle against the normal form, only the Terrastall and unknown forms? No, it would mean that if you do battle the normal form Terrapagos, it doesn't display the special boss encounter HUD with a big HP bar until it changes form. Interesting. So what he has to say here is that Matt is suggesting that 2 of the battles will be against Terrapagos in its Terra form. So these are like specifically these special battles that have been mentioned in the files that are going to be happening. And then another battle against it in its unknown form that was recently just discovered. While the last Titan battle could be any other Pokemon, but he thinks it's likely to be Momotaromon. The reason 2 Terrapagos battles make sense here is because they are the same ID number. Well, the third battle is completely different numbers. So possibly we might have 3 boss battles. Terrapagos 2 times and Dokutaro once, right? Seems like that might be the case here. And this again comes from this post right here, that there's 3 new Pokemon bosses coming in the Indigo Disc, and he guesses which Pokemon might be the Titan boss battles. But basically in the Indigo Disc, they'll introduce 3 new lines of text for boss encounters. So an example of boss encounter is like the Great Tusk was a boss battle and Ursaluna was a boss battle. So we'll see what happens with that. Next thing, and this is connected to some of the other Scarlet and Violet DLC stuff, so it's a lot, guys. I really told you. We're already 49 minutes in. Big spoilers. Looks like I didn't have to wait as long as I thought I would to see them all. 5 emojis. As most everyone knows, the pillow at Peachy's shop is actually the true Momotaro of the retelling. It's on the old Kitakami folktale board too, but it's not a human trainer, it's a Pokemon. I haven't started the main plot in the Teal Mask yet, so bear with me on some details. The Tale of Momotaro is about a boy born out of a peach that befriends 3 warrior animals, and together they defeat an Oni king. The Teal Mask storyline is based on these Japanese tales, but the roles are reversed. So the Tale of Momotaro is the peach boy is now evil, and the warrior Pokemon are actually weak, and he makes them into warriors to take down the Oni king, who's not even a king, it's just a poor little Pokemon trying to live its life. Interesting. The Loyal 3 are actually loyal to someone. It is their toxic leader and the one that put them in the toxic chains. The scene that actually shows a part of this Pokemon seems to suggest there's actually the one behind the scenes that originally sent the Loyal 3 to take the masks from Ogerpon, and probably wanted the titular Teal Mask for itself, maybe because it was the Terra Crystals from the mask. I didn't give up after the first time though, and we clearly the one that revived the Loyal 3 and the second time too. More on that in a separate tweet, but I believe this is possibly because I believe it's not only a legendary Pokemon, but a poison ghost type, and you see why in the tweet below. There's so much more to say about this Pokemon, but the weirdest thing is, why did Game Freak decide to hide it and release it in DLC 2 instead? I personally don't think it would be the main villain of this entire DLC because its motifs and story arc are pretty clear in DLC 1, but maybe it will have to do some relevance in the future. Well guys, what did we look at a second ago? We haven't been down here yet. We haven't been down in this other area of Area 0, right? We haven't been all the way to the bottom. And what is on the side here? It's peaches. So it makes sense. That's why we didn't see it in DLC 1. Because we're going to explore that place in DLC 2, and then the peach Pokemon will make total sense to us. It will be fully explained. But he does say, it's also shocking that it has a resemblance to Glimmora. Remember what I said earlier? Glimmora literally has a battle, a special battle text file in the DLC files, okay? It's in the files. It's in the data mine that we're going to be finding it. So why does it look so much like Glimmora? Where is Glimmora found? Only in Area 0. What do we know about Glimmora? Honestly, nothing. The Pokemon is really strange. There's not really much of an explanation. I don't know. It's a very strange Pokemon. But either way, he does say, can't wait for the full interpretation of them all in Scarlet and Violet. And then again, it was just this little weird hint, I think, from Power Rangers. He says, spoilers, outside of these lanterns meaning nothing, this is the only other possible option. That this Momotaro Loyal 3 Master Pokemon is typing is confirmed in my opinion. These lantern typings seem to be related to Ogerpon in the Loyal 3. So the random ghost type there is probably a hint to this new Pokemon. That's true, right? The other one, so Ogerpon makes sense, but the fire one doesn't make much sense. So I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, that is fire, right? But I guess the 3 in the middle makes sense, because you've got fairy, you got fighting, I'm guessing, right there. No, fighting is down here. I don't know if that actually connects, though. I think he's a bit off on this one. But let's continue. So, I don't know what this means exactly, but if my beloved Carmen is evolved, I'll love it no matter what. If I were to guess, though, I say that this is Koo saying that Carmen becomes a really good battler and a rival in Indigo Disc. She probably takes on the Nemona role and personality in DLC 2, acting the same way towards us as Nemona did in base Scarlet and Violet. Or maybe they just become friends. Could be that they just become friends, or that they work together. Who knows? But let's continue on to the next thing. So, this post was made, I think, like 18th of September. So it says, outside the lanterns meaning nothing, this is the only other possible option that this Momotaro Level 3 Master Pokemon's typing is confirmed. The lanterns seem to be pointing again to the ghost type. So, again, I don't know. Its ghost typing makes sense, though. It makes the most sense. But I don't know if it's 100% connected. And here again, we have another thing from Riddler. So Riddler who actually posted this image of Aizen, right? This is a character from Bleach. Now, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen Bleach, just massive spoiler alert. This guy's evil. This man is straight up evil. Straight evil. Not good in any way. He's secretly been plotting the whole time. He pretends like he's a good guy the whole time. But this dude is straight evil. And that's the thing. Kieran almost pretends to be good the whole time to us. He pretends to be of a good heart. But it's in a weird way, he's kind of been evil the whole time. He's almost been acting real, but not being real, right? I just realized that this is 99% Kieran and might be referencing that not only will his personality change, but his hair and face and demeanor will change from a moody kid to a confident champion in the Indigo disc. Because we know there is a character that has not been revealed. There is a character that has not been shown off yet for the second DLC. A character that we only saw the bottom part of, and honestly, it could be Kieran, because he's going to be, acting different. His hair has been pulled back. I mean, it's literally like Aizen. This guy has a regular, almost, regular weeb anime haircut, like, hey, dude, what up, man? My name is Aizen, bro. I'm just a cool dude, bro. And then when he goes evil, he goes all slick back, like, yo, my name's Chad. I'm about to take your bitch. Like, he literally pulls his hair back and does this whole shtick. Kieran, look at him. His hair is all in the front. Now he's pulled his hair back. He's got this whole slick back thing going on. This dude, straight evil. Okay, he's going straight evil. There's no question about it. All right, straight up. But he says here, his face and demeanor will change from moody kid to a confident champion, and that's why they hid it in the official artwork too. His hair might even be pulled out of his face more. Exactly. You can fully see his face this time around, right? And again, this is all really strange. You even have a post right here. It says, I knew nothing about this character, but apparently he's the main villain of the Bleach manga who pretends to be kind, but is actually evil. And exactly, that's the thing. Because this was all from Riddler Ku, who made this post saying him when he was referring to it here. Like, just literally pointed at Aizen, which is, again, just the way he riddles and does stuff. And again, Pen Paladin is correct here. Is it possible that the Loyal 3 all wish to be stronger and smarter and prettier, and so does Kieran? He wishes to be stronger. He wishes to be smarter. He wishes to be a better battler, more powerful, everything. And what if it's possible that this Peach Pokemon is going to fuse to him, same way the Lusamine does, right? Like fusing together, like almost harvesting his feelings to control him like a zombie. Either way, next thing is going to be this right here. Now, this is a combination of a bunch of different posts, so bear with me. We're going to start with this one down here, because this is the original post that we are talking about. But let's just start off from right here. Similar to Cleaver on the Indigo disc, Pokedex, the only two Hisuian Pokemon that show up in the Teal Mask decks are obviously Ursaluna and the Basculegion line. There's a fun explanation of why it's them. We know from Ursaluna's Dex entry parent that it barely survived somehow floating across the sea from Hisui to Kitakami. In the same way, Basculegion probably followed the same stream and river and swam from Hisui to Kitakami. It's one of the only Hisuian Pokemon that logically could naturally make its way to Kitakami because it's a fish lol, and instead of being a Sinnoh Pokemon, is now a Pokemon native to Kitakami. Of course, Hisui Braviary and probably Quillfish could have made it too, but Hisui and Braviary actually migrates north of Hisui, and we know it's ultimately took a different path, coming and going to Unova instead of Kitakami, which is a very ironic connection given that that's where Blueberry Academy is located, lol. Quillfish, on the other hand, just might not be as much of a migratory Pokemon, or this just might be unlucky. Could be the case. But nonetheless, though, it is an interesting connection, though, to how all this comes back to each other. But the reason we brought this up is that we can go back to this post. I'm such a big dummy. There's an even bigger connection reason why Ursaluna and Basculegion are the only two Hisui Pokemon in Kitakami. Bears hunt for salmon. It's a big possibility that Game Freak chose them from this connection. So now imagine if it was Basculegion that probably first migrated to Kitakami from Hisui for unknown reasons, and Ursaluna, being a silly, hungry bear, tried to follow its food supply and ended up floating across the same sea too. Maybe many Ursaluna jumped into the water after the fish, but only one Ursaluna made it all the way to its food supply's new home, and it eventually became the only Blood Moon beast. That's an insane theory, which is, geez, man. He says it would actually explain why it can hit ghosts too, right? Which I guess makes sense. It's not too strange. Nonetheless, though, let's move on to the next thing. Read the pics below. Spoilery. Now, this is a theory here from Indiosia, which basically said the following. Let's read the actual theory. The internal name of this Pokemon is Dokutaro. Whether it's a placeholder or the final name, I think it's the actual final name, not only is it derived from Doku, meaning poison, and Momotaro, the peach boy from the fairy tale of the Loyal 3, which they're based on, but it's also a reference to Dokurobe from Yatterman. Yatterman is a well-known for its main antagonist, the Dorombo Gang, a trio of quirky thieves representing beauty, brains, and brawn. Literally the Loyal 3. And if we want to look up this Yatterman thing, we can do it, but you guys can also look it up yourself. But he says here, and the Brawn, and pursuing a mysterious gem called the Skull Stone, much like the oversimplified skull at the end of the Loyal 3 members' chain, which is said to reveal the location of the world's largest gold vein. The Dorombo gang serves under their elusive boss, Dokurobe. Doku, there it is again. It just keeps showing up. Who has a similar skull motif. Even Dokurobe's underlings don't know who he really is. Kind of like how Dokutaro flew under the radar of Bo Kitakami's resident and any players who haven't seen the full version of this sprite, which is true. And then here in the last episode of the 70s series, the Dorombo gang meets Dokurobe for the first time, and they discover that it is an android, and the Dokuro stone is the real Dokurobe. He really was a skull-shaped stone-like alien who flew over the earth and got broken into pieces. With his powers, he tricked them into believing that the completed Dokuro stone would have revealed the location of a fabulous treasure, when in reality, he just needed to be resurrected or reconstructed. So it makes total sense, right? This Pokemon needs to connect itself to Kieran so he can literally bring it back. It needs the Loyal 3 to bring it back. And maybe it needed the power of the Terra Crystals, which it thought it could get from Ogerpon, because they had been harvested by the creator of the masks that were given to Ogerpon. He thought he could get his hands on it by basically manipulating the Loyal 3. When that failed, he found the closest, easiest, and best thing he could do. And what was that thing? Well, it was specifically Kieran. Right? Makes total sense. And you can even see here, this is what this show looks like. And you guys can see, they look a little bit wacky, not gonna lie. But you guys can see, it's up in the corner right here. This Pokemon is up in the corner. It's right up there. Here's what he says though. Amazing find. It's actually insane how much Game Freak pulled from this when creating the Loyal 3 and the Peach. This is totally why the Loyal 3 look like goofy cartoon evil henchmen. In the series, they're searching for a skull gem, Terra Gems, and of course, this skull is their leader's symbol. Keep in mind, what does the Terra symbol look like? It has literally eyes on it. It looks like a skull. It looks like a face, right? So they're not going to make it really over the top because it's a children's game at the end of the day, but still, it's a weird connection. This symbol and the leader also hiding behind the scenes for the entire series. It's only at the end that this gang finally meets their leader, who apparently was a skull-shaped stone himself, and used the gang of 3 to collect his shattered pieces. Maybe this will relate to this Pokemon's importance in DLC 2. Either way, this skull motif really makes me think that Momotaramon is going to be just a floating head, and definitely reminds me of Toxicity, Ghosts, and Zombies, lol. Who had Game Freak ever thought about mixing, I guess, Yatterman with the tale of Momotaro, where Momotaro is actually the villain? Brilliance. Either way, this is all really weird. But here Eclipse actually had a bit of a theory saying Terrestrialization and Glimora have the same origin, being part of the same creature and meteorite. Like always, Game Freak is hinting at this new crash of crystal infused with powers from outer space. Watch it being linked to the Peach Pokemon too, all poison and rock-like creatures. And interestingly, he's actually spoiling a tweet coming up. But let's see. By the way, it's equally insane how much Game Freak pulled from the Avataro Sentai Dawn brothers when creating Ogerpon and the Loyal 3 and the Peach. Did you know that the yellow Oni Ranger here is the only female one out of this group, while all the other characters here are male? And again, I think all the 3 that you see, the other 3 that you see, are all actually, if you look at Ogerpon, that's a female Pokemon, and if you look at the other 3, they're all male Pokemon. Just look at the modern Ivy Cudgel. Obviously, most Oni are known to be cannibal weapons, just like joking around. But either way, let's move on to the next thing. So, we've already spoken about how Kieran is evil. Then there is some stuff from Pokisutami, who says this Poke PR Twitter made a statement that basically amounts to, sorry we accidentally used a non-official term during the closed captioned stream of today's episode. The Pokemon's name is Terapagos after all. Even they're hinting that its actual name is Kodai Kame, right? Kodai, ancient, Kame, turtle, Kodai Kame. That is its literal name. It's really strange, isn't it? It's really strange. It's really odd. Either way, next post from Pokisutami says, we can also see a change in Carmen. At the start of this DLC, she is mean, bossy, and constantly selfish. Also xenophobic as crazy, and it shows in her facial expressions and eyes, which are always either angry without light or clearly fake smiles. And you guys can see, is it possible that she was the one actually controlled in the beginning? Was she the one influenced by this Pokemon, but then it shifted over to Kieran because she was too hard to control, possibly? Who knows? But then they say here, Stami says, but throughout the game, her eyes slowly soften and she starts to show real positive smiles as her friendship with the player grows and her way of thinking about Ogerpon and visitors starts to change, because she really hates visitors, which is really strange. She still gets moments where her eyes grow sharp, but she has never hidden it. Her emotions, even while fake, were easy to read and interpret, unlike Kieran, who tried to hide his. They basically walked past each other and swapped sides. Literally, one of them starts off angry and evil and mean, possibly controlled. Like, look at her eyes. She looks insane. But then they soften. She becomes nice. She's friendly. She's not the bad guy, right? She becomes the good person. You can see it here. The last scene shows Kieran's eyes without the white highlight to portray the fact that he has fallen into darkness. But actually, there are multiple scenes where his eyes are not visible. What were his eyes showing at this time? We couldn't see them, right? You guys can see right here. When his eyes, you guys have seen the image I showed you earlier, they fade. You don't see it anymore. And the same thing here, we can't see his eyes. We don't know what's happening. And here you can see all the glow, all the light in them is gone. You know, just fallen into darkness, more or less. Just totally lost it. There's a short moment after the second battle where Kieran's eyes are very briefly lose the glint before returning to normal. And that's before we start to realize. So you can see right there. It's really crazy. Either way, it's literally in his name. So apparently Kieran is a name with Irish origins, meaning little dark one. That's what Kieran apparently means. Unfortunately, his Japanese name isn't as fun. Suguri, which means gooseberry. The only real implication the Japanese name could have for his darker personality would be that his nickname, Sugu, Japanese version of Kiki, can mean immediately. Can mean immediately? Okay, so that's really strange. And the fact that gooseberries tend to be sour and acidic tasting, poisonous almost, you could say. I mean, acidic is maybe not poisonous, but, you know, kind of sour and mean and angry almost. So, you know, and it even refers to a black-haired one. So, like, it's literally what he's got. He's got black hair. It all perfectly fits together. I'm going to be real. It just all perfectly matches up together. Now, let's move on to the next thing. So this is something we've, I think, talked about already, so it's not worth going through again. We talked about this. We've talked about this too. And then there is also the Story to the Loyal Threes, where Game Freak included a good chunk of the death and rebirth imagery of the fermentation operation, although it is a corrupted version of it instead. The true one should take place in Johto, once we get to the Legends game later this generation, hopefully. And I do think this all perfectly connects to what I wanted to talk about, which is, I think next year is going to be Johto. And you can disagree with me. I know there's going to be people in the comments saying it's not going to be Johto, it's going to be UNOVA. I just don't think UNOVA, it's not time for it yet. Next generation is when we're going to get UNOVA. Now, is it possible we get some kind of UNOVA game next year? Yes. We could possibly, just saying possibly, very much possibly on this one, we could possibly get a UNOVA Legends type game. Possibly. Or we get a Johto Legends game. Or we get 2 games next year. But one thing that 100% I feel in my heart is going to happen is going to be Johto. First of all, there are hints to Johto in the games, okay? There's hints to Johto in Kitakami. There's the Johto battle theme remixed inside of Kitakami. You have the Johto, I mean, just as far as I can tell, you have seemingly hints to a bunch of like Johto things, like the patches on the characters' like shoulders. In Scarlet, they're gold. In Violet, they're silver, gold and silver. You have Billy and Onair, the 2 characters that are the side quest in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. They're the parents of Nemona, as far as we can tell. Their names are Billy and Onair, so billionaire, and their colors are gold and silver. Their hair color is literally gold and silver. It's a bit too on the nose. And you know what's happening next year, guys? 25 years since the release of Gold and Silver. Next year, in 2024, it's going to be exactly 25 years since they released. And you know why that's significant, guys? It's because when we got Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, that was on the anniversary of the original games. Red, blue, yellow, green. I'm not sure if yellow should be included, but green should be in there. They came out during that period. Now, am I saying we're going to get a Let's Go game? No. We're going to get some kind of Johto game. What kind of game it's going to be? That's up for debate. Are we going to get double games? That's up for debate too. We could still get UNOVA. That's not out of the question. But I do think Johto is guaranteed next year, more or less. And speaking of Johto, we're going to take a look at this post. I think we may have already covered this one. I think we just did a second ago, yes. But I do want to show some Johto stuff that I think is really cool, which is right here from Millennium Loops. He basically made these chibi versions of what we could actually imagine the characters could look like in a Let's Go type game for Pokemon. I mean, it doesn't have to be a Let's Go type game, but like he's basically using this for almost like a MMO. He says here, if an Unreal programmer is interested in teaming up with me to make a multi-region MMO Pokemon game like PokeMMO or Poke1, but in this ORAS style, hit me up. So it's more in the, I guess, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire style, but as you can see, it's a very kind of like chibi type style, which looks really cool, actually. I don't mind it. And the characters, this could be kind of what you could imagine what they could do, right? They could do something like this for a Johto game. This is something they could do with it. They could literally make it something along the lines like this. A more chibi style game that's more small in scale and recreates gold, silver, and crystal just as a way for us to revisit it. Hopefully with Kanto included, because otherwise we're getting scammed. But, you know, it's just a cool concept to show you what this could look like. And again, shout out to Millennium Loops. He's working on this project. I would definitely recommend just going and checking out this whole project because they're working on some amazing stuff. You guys can see some of the amazing work that's being done right here. Just fantastic. But I wanted to just bring this up because it's just worthwhile mentioning. Now, we still have a few things to talk about, so we're going to start with this right here, which is some more data mines that were actually found within the files, and these are actually pretty big. So first up, spoilers inside if you didn't play the DLC. I found out that the file for the 4th Pokemon in the cutscene, and this is the Pokemon that wasn't shown, you know, in like that image, is specifically this thing right here. It's this little plushie thing. You guys remember? You guys know what this is? It's the Dokutaro Pokemon, right? He says basically that plush Pokemon, the plush that appears in the shop, it's in a separate file and under a folder from shop place where we see the plushie. It's also called object underscore un underscore DLC1 underscore T 10 shop 01 underscore Momo 01. Momotaro, Dokutaro, Doku literally meaning poison, Taro coming from Momotaro, the Peach Boy. It's all connected. This Pokemon is going to show up. There's no question about it. It's already in the files. It's already there. Just thought I would bring this up. I think it's really cool to show. But either way, next up is also this. It's a Scarlet Violet data mine. Apparently, they left Indigo Disc DLC Part 2 room in the game. This could possibly be our bedroom that we're going to be having inside of the Blueberry Academy. Because keep in mind, the Blueberry, I mean, it just looks the same like our bedroom almost. Just slightly different than our bedroom in our regular Academy in Scarlet and Violet. But it's going to be serving like in a similar purpose, right? We're going to be going to school there. We're going there as a student, like an exchange student sort of. So we're visiting. You guys can see what it looks like. We just have like literally our own cooking place over here. Nothing too crazy. The bed with the Blueberry Academy logos on it. And in the back here is a schedule of sorts, I guess, with our lessons on it. But overall, nothing really much to say about it that's too crazy. Somebody says here, that's the room in the Kieran cutscene. And I guess that also makes sense as well. Now, is it possible that this is going to be relevant? Are we going to have our own room? Or as the person mentions here, Pearl Enthusiast, is this just basically Kieran's room from the cutscene? Could be the case. Either way, big spoilers. Oh, well, hello there, Peachy. I've been waiting to see if anyone would check out the model from the Peachy shop. I've got so many ideas about what this floating around in my head. My biggest question is, what part of the top of it is, and which is the bottom? Lol. I really do hope that it's the same as it was in the story cutscene. So, you twisted the other way around, right? The two-pronged side would be the bottom. Momotaro's peach is primarily illustrated with the leaves at the bottom. Yeah, but the bottom of the real peach is the tip. But also, it's upside down in the scene, which I guess seems to be the other way, which adds up because it's a Momotaro Pokemon, but flipped to the evil. So yes, if it is, you know, the way it's like otherwise described would be upside down. So almost like these top pieces are kind of its feet. This time around, it's flipped upside down because it's evil. It's not good. That's why it's like that. You know, it just makes total sense. Also, we have a bug fix for Scarlet and Violet in DLC has been announced by the Pokemon Company. I would expect that they would detail below maybe some minor patches. It's crazy how quickly they actually hear what we say online. Crazy thing that they are always watching. And basically, we are dealing with the following bugs that occur in Scarlet and Violet's update data version 2.0.1, and we're planning to distribute some stuff. We apologize. A bug that even if you win a trainer battle, I guess, on the field under certain conditions, the victory may not be recorded. As a result, you may not be able to get rewards from winning certain numbers of trainer battles. When you bring a special Pokemon from Pokemon Home to Pokemon Go, you can get the target Pokemon once in Scarlet and Violet before version 1.3.2, and a bug that I couldn't bring it with me. So, then just basically bug fixing. This is more or less what's happening, right? It's just a bunch of bug fixes that are taking place. Now, I want to just check down here if there's anything else. I think we've covered mostly everything. We've gone through all the stuff from Riddler Coup. We've gone through all the stuff over there. Let's see if there's anything from Light. So Light just talks about some of the similar stuff here, that his behavior is was the reason that Ogre Pond, Pheasant PD, Monkey Dory came to life again from the punch. It's a quick overview. The whole connection here being again to this whole show and how it all connects. So Again, all seems connected. Maybe I'm crazy, but doesn't it seem like these two things are quite similar, as it could be the leader and maybe related? So again, like its eyes here, we're basically giving it the evil eyes, the angry eyes from the Terra Crystal is what they've done here. Almost applied them to it to show what it looks like. And you guys can see right here, that's like the eyes from the Terra Crystal, literally right there, which is really, really strange. And it even looks similar to this heart shape you can see, which is really odd. But what he says is, at the revelation of the Teal Mask, that Pheasant, PD, Monkey, Durian, Okidogi are Kid Takami's bad guys, Pokemon decided to make those not inspired from Pomotaro's tale. They took inspiration of the Time Bokan series, which we talked about earlier. Next up, though, here's actually a really cool art from Nikki Nish, who basically said, and done, I did say Monkey was going to be boring, just more hair. I feel this, like this Peach Pokemon gave them the toxic chain for them to gain their current form we know. And what if this trio was bullied, so they became bullies? I don't know, no, getting ahead of myself. But basically, this person drew what they could have looked like. Just a concept of what they could have looked like, you know, based on the text that we've seen, right? Based on this whole, like, text about what they originally were like. Is this what they originally were? Just small little Pokemon that desired more, desired power, and as such, they got corrupted. Seems like a reasonable thing, you know. Visible spectrum. Here he kind of connects all the things we've seen. You know, like we've got, you know, the oranges, the grapes for Scarlet and Violet, the Blueberry Academy with the blueberries. We've got the Teal Mask and Terapagos kind of with the, I guess, the kind of teal colors, the green colors. It's just an interesting, weird way where they connect all these colors together for the full visible spectrum. Because this whole generation has been all about colors, right? Similar to how the first generation of Pokemon was all about colors. Because if you think about it, you've got, you know, the Indigo League. Interesting. We got the Indigo Disc. You've got Palette Town. A palette is a set of colors. You've got Lavender Town. Lavender is a color. Cerulean. You know, you got Pewter. Like all these are colors, very specific ones, but they're still colors, right? Which is again very strange. Here you also have something interesting, which just connects back to a old tweet, which is about Diplin's evolution. Now, Diplin will have an evolution in the Indigo Disc. Apparently, this evolution will have a relationship between a tree and the Diplin that live together. But how will we be able to form take this form to evolve it? In this case, how can it be connected? Well, probably some of what you've heard about the forbidden fruit that grows in the Garden of Eden, which God commands us, the mankind, to not eat, or else, you know, you will just perish more or less. Now, if Diplin is in the team of Kieran, and he's kind of blind and crazy to win, and is somehow influenced, and keep in mind, Kieran does have a Diplin, influenced by the Peach Pokemon, he might actually be the Forbidden Apple. So is it, because think in mind, I've just done a playthrough, by the way, on my other channel. Please check it out. It's me playing as Kieran in Scarlet and Violet, and Diplin is one of the Pokemon I use. We know that Diplin's going to get another evolution. Is it literally a poison apple? Like, think Snow White. We talked about this earlier. Think about Snow White. Is it possible that the reason it's going to evolve is going to be the Peach Pokemon, and the reason for it is that it's literally poisoned by the poison of the Peach Pokemon, similar to, you know, the apple of, you know, like within Eden, right? Like, is it a similar situation here? Who knows? But let's continue on to the next thing, which is going to be this right here. I think it's important a moment in which is mentioned that there is an original manuscript in Briar's possession, and that there are pages that were not published in the other books. Keep in mind, I even have his original manuscript. She calls it a manuscript. Encountered when he dwelled even further into the depths of Area Zero. Depths that we have never reached, right? Far enough down. So the original manuscript, when added into this slot, could give us more information, or it's maybe added into that other door, which will give us access to it. But he says the following. I think that this book has to be the third one that has been mentioned before. The book which is the key to access the deepest parts of Area Zero, and where all the forms and information of Koraidon, Miraidon, and the remaining Paradox Pokemon are explained. If Briar really talks about the deepest parts of Area Zero, can only be accessed from one place. The pedestal where the time machine was activated. That's where the book should go. Why this place? This place is the only one that we'll be able to go to after the ending game. And the Indigo Disc, you must complete the game in order to start it. Remember, the Scarlet and Violet books are not anymore with us, so we don't even have them anymore. We continue on. Spoilers: Indigo Disc. Dokutaro and the Poison Peach Pokemon will be the leader of the Loyal 3. So we already talked a bit about this. As for its typing, it seems like Ghost Poison makes the most sense. It just fits the most in terms of the logos we've seen. Seems to just connect well enough, right? And here again, you can see there seems to be an odd connection between these crystals again and this Pokemon. All right, we're almost at the end, guys. First of all, this is a look at Lucius, the Ancient Traveler. This is in the Pokemon anime. This was shown off with, I guess, Galarian Moltres. And then finally, Terapagos Terrastal form, first appearance. Also, the name of normal Terapagos in the anime was called Kodaikame. And there it is, there is the form. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for the video. This took 1 hour and 18 minutes. This was the longest video I've ever made for a rumor. Sorry if it was super long, but I wanted to cover everything, and there was so much stuff to go through. I wanted to make sure I shared everybody's opinion because everybody had something to say, okay? Everybody had something to say. We had data mines, we had theories, right? We had talks about what potential Johto games could look like. There was too much stuff to cover to not include everything all at once. And I just wanted to thank you all for watching. And I want to see you guys in the next video because this was too long and I got to go drink something because my throat is really dry. But thank you all for watching, guys. And I'll be doing some more videos on this stuff very soon. Thank you. See you guys in the next one.